Shabbos and good Yantif. Tonight, as we begin Sukkot, I want to bring together two texts of Torah, which to me speak of Sukkot. One is traditionally associated with Sukkot, and the other not so much. But together, to me, they touch on so many of the themes of what this holiday is. So the first text is part of the traditional reading for today, Leviticus 23, the end of Leviticus 23, which is the holiday cycle. And it says, howbeit on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you've gathered in the fruits of the land, you shall keep the feast of the Lord 7 days. 7 days, on the first day shall be a solemn rest, and on the 8th day shall be a solemn rest. Of course, that's where Shemini Atzeret comes in. You celebrate Sukkot for 7 days, and you rest on the first and 8th day. So that 8th day sneaks in there. It's part of Sukkot, but it's not. So it's Shemini Atzeret. That'll be next week. But both of them are they bookmark the holiday, kind of like a Shabbos on each end of the holiday, whatever day of the week it falls on. And you shall take to yourself on the first day. I've got the demonstration here. The fruit of goodly trees. Fruit of goodly trees. It says pre-etz hadar. Pre-etz hadar. For those who know Hebrew, pre-etz hadar means fruit of the tree, beautiful. It could be the beautiful fruit of the tree, or it could be the fruit of the beautiful tree. The Hebrew, it's not clear. That's just the grammatical form. It could be the beautiful fruit of the tree, or the fruit of the beautiful tree. That was a clue to the rabbis as to what fruit they were talking about, because they said the pomegranate is a very pretty fruit, and it's on a really scrawny tree. So it's not going to be a pomegranate. No, we don't shake a lulav with a pomegranate. We shake a lulav with an etrog, which is on a pretty tree, which, as if you saw from when we were growing some years back, growing etrog trees from the seeds that we cut, it's a very pretty citrus tree, and this is such a thick peel that in the desert it's going to stay pretty for a long time. So you take the fruit, and you take the palm, and you take, it says thick boughs of thick trees. I mean, it's a thick etz avot, thick. So you got thick leaves there, thickly leaved, and willows of the brook. And you're supposed to, well, it literally says you shall take them and rejoice. You rejoice. So this is really a joyful holiday. Really, it's known as Chag, the festival. This is the carnival. Carnival, not quite, but the festival. Like when I was growing up in Greenbelt, Maryland, they had the Labor Day festival every year. I didn't know what Labor Day was. I didn't know what a week was, but I just knew whenever those rides arrived, it was a festival. So this is a festival. This is joyful. As I said earlier, it's joyful whether you want to be happy or not, because you're commanded to be joyful. Just forget your sorrows, because sometimes you just gotta celebrate life, and that's what we're doing, celebrating life at the time of the harvest. You shall keep it as a feast unto the Lord 7 days in the year. It is a statute forever in your generations. You shall keep it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths 7 days. You shall dwell in Sukkot 7 days. All that are homeborn in Israel shall dwell in booths, in Sukkot, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in Sukkot when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. You know, that's just a hint. That's the one place in the Torah where we really get a connection of Sukkot and our central narrative coming out of Egypt. And we have 3 pilgrimage festivals, 3 times a year, when we're supposed to appear. We're supposed to appear in Jerusalem. And it's interesting, it doesn't say you shall see Jerusalem. It says you shall be seen. You shall show up. So it's actually a religious act, just to show up, just to be seen. So you shall be seen on those 3 festivals, Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Now, Passover each of those are each of those are harvest festivals. Harvest festivals. Passover, the barley harvest. Shavuot, the wheat harvest. And then fruits in the fall. And in the Torah, it's very well developed in the Torah that Passover is also about coming out of Egypt. Passover is about that time of leaving Egypt. And Shavuot, we know it also as the time of the giving of the Torah. That's not developed in the Torah at all. The Torah never says Shavuot was when we got the Torah. It just points to we reached Sinai at about that time of year. And then there's Sukkot. Sukkot, it's all about harvest, except this line. It's kind of underdeveloped connection, but a connection made there. That the Sukkot remind us of coming out. Remind us of the 40 years of wandering. That's what Sukkot is connected to, the 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. That your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in Sukkot when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. And so we build these Sukkot outside of our houses, temporary structures. And now I want to turn to the section of the Torah section that I always associate with Sukkot, even though traditionally it's not traditionally associated with Sukkot, and that is Deuteronomy 8. Moses is repeating to the children of Israel, as Moses always does. When you are in that new land over there, when you're in that new place, keep on observing. Remember what you've gone through and keep up the old ways. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land. So it says before that, you shall keep the commandments of the Lord your God, to walk in God's ways and to revere God. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths, springing forth in valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey. Those are the 7 species, if you've heard of sometimes, the 7 species that have halachic significance. Wheat and barley, vines, so that's grapes, fig trees, pomegranates, a land of olive trees, and honey. That's understood to be date honey. So those are the 7 species associated with the land of Israel. Interesting, no etrog. No etrog. Okay, but these 7 species. And by the way, this is also why we say motzi for everything. Wheat comes first. Wheat takes precedence. So if you say a bracha, a blessing over wheat for a meal, you've included everything. And if there's wheat there, you should say it first. And that includes everything. The only thing is, if we're saying Kiddush, well, you're supposed to say Kiddush before you eat anything. So now grapes are supposed to come first. But wheat's supposed to come first, unless the wheat isn't there. So cover the challah, and it's not there. Okay? This is why I say we have laws that are built on the syntax of a book. It's true. So, God is bringing you into a land with all of this produce, a land wherein you shall eat bread without scareness, where you shall not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you may dig grass. And you shall eat and be satisfied and bless the Lord your God for the good land which God gives you. And you shall eat and be satisfied and then bless. That's why Birkat Hamazon, the blessing over eating after eating, is so much longer. That's the more important one, because you eat, you're satisfied, and then you bless. Now, beware, lest you forget the Lord your God in not keeping God's commandments and God's ordinances and God's statutes, which I command you this day. Lest when you have eaten and are satisfied, and you have built goodly houses and dwelt in them, remember that, goodly houses, You built goodly houses, and when your herds and your flocks multiply, and your silver and your gold is multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied, beware then that if your heart is lifted up and you forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt and out of the house of bondage, who led you through the great and dreadful wilderness, and so who fed you in the wilderness, which your ancestors knew not. Beware lest you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand has gotten me this wealth. But rather you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is God who gives you the power to get wealth, that God may establish God's covenant, which God swore to your ancestors as it is to this day. So beware lest when you build these goodly, when you have everything, you've got abundance, and you have these strong, sturdy houses. Now you're in these strong, sturdy houses and you've forgotten everything. Don't do it. And I remember years ago going through the Navajo reservation and seeing that the Navajos had many of these families had modern houses, and outside of them they had their traditional house. And how the Bedouin in Israel, wanderers, nomads, until the borders shut them in. They can't go wandering across the militarized frontiers. So they've been encouraged to settle down, stay put, build strong, goodly houses, and they do, and then they build their temporary houses outside. It must be extremely unsettling to social structure and to spiritual life. If you've been wandering and nomadic, if you've been living nomadically for generations and now you have to settle down, you could forget all your ways. So maybe that's why we do it. We were nomads, and then we had to settle down. So we build these houses outside to remember, to hold on to those old ways. Remember everything you're hearing in the wilderness. So when you move into this new place, you remember what you're supposed to be. So Sukkot then becomes about joy, it becomes about gratitude, and it becomes about holding on to who we are in our new place. And that becomes even more important for us in this generation, in this time, when everything is changing so fast. Almost every other year, it's like being in a new place. There's so much change that happens in modern life. And so much of the latter part of the Torah, Deuteronomy in particular, is about adapting, holding on to who you are, and simultaneously adapting to a new space, a new place. And Sukkot perhaps also is about this, adapting to a new place, and yet trying to remain who you are with joy. So let us continue joyfully into our new space, joyfully each year into our new place, holding on to who we are and remembering what we are dedicated to and what we are about. Happy Yantif, good Yantif, Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos.